this so I can get to take all the answers and things that I share. So if you do want to speak up at any point, just remember this will be recorded for posterity. You don't have to mute yourself unless you're making lots of noises, but if you want to ask questions, you can, because I already have a couple of questions to answer.
Chris, should we get everyone to go on mute and only just put it on when they need to ask something?
If you want to.
Be clearer that way, that's fine.
And then you can unmute yourself if you have a question. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing chaotic happening at the moment. So thank you. This is the first actual little Zoom live that I'm doing here. That is also meant to be streaming to Facebook, but I don't think it is at all. So, well, I'll just play this a bit later. So now I have some questions already, because unless any of you have questions live here at the moment, in which case you can either speak up or you can just put them in the chat box, because the chat box, I don't think that gets actually recorded anyway. So here is the first question. The first question is, here we go. We have, do you know much about thyroid issues and medications? The short answer is yes. I do know a bit about thyroid issues and thyroid medications. I've probably read, well, apart from being trained about how to diagnose thyroid conditions, which took some time, I've probably got about 100, 200 articles on my computer that I've either read or written about the thyroid. But getting a little bit deeper, you want to know, if someone has been taking medication for over 20 years, is it safe to stop taking the medication gradually, even if it was originally misdiagnosed? And would the body not become dependent after all these years and the thyroid stop working? So basically, is it safe to stop thyroid medication? It's only safe to stop thyroid medication, even if it is gradually, if your thyroid is actually working enough to produce the hormones, or you fix the underlying reason why they're not working. So if you are thinking of coming off of thyroid medication, you need to work with your medical doctor so they can actually test your thyroid hormones in your blood. But here is the problem, and now I am going to share screen. Now, where was it that I wanted to actually go? Thyroid epigenetics, that's the one I wanted. Here we go, share. So this is a picture from a slide. This is slide number 12 of 523 on hormones. Okay, so thyroid gland slap bang in the middle. Your thyroid hormones are needed to basically keep you alive, keep your metabolism working. And it interplays with everything that's happening in your body. Now, the problem is thyroid disease pretty much just gets diagnosed on whether or not you've got enough thyroid hormones in your blood. And it's irrelevant as to what may have caused that problem. For instance, is it because you have too much of another thyroid hormone called reverse T3, which is switching everything else off? Is it because you have a problem in your brain so that your thyroid isn't being stimulated? And is that problem in your brain because that part of the brain is toxic from heavy metals or something else? And this is the whole problem, is in medicine, this just does not actually get looked at very much. So I'm just going to stop the share there, and I'm going to bring up the other thing I wanted to share. This is actually why it's good to ask a question in advance, actually. But I would like, here we go. The thing you must do is you must fix the cell to get well. And I don't know if you can see in the top right hand corner, or at least top right hand of my corner, it says hormones: estrogen, thyroid, testosterone, cortisol, insulin. There are lots of hormones, okay? And hormones come from the outside of the cell, they hit the cell membrane wall, and then there's a cascade of chemical events that happen on the inside to let the cell know that it's been contacted by a hormone, and then it puts stuff out and it reacts accordingly. But it can't do that. Oh, we can't do that if the cell membrane is fixed, or if the cell membrane isn't working properly, or if the cell itself isn't working. And the cell basically needs three things. It needs to be told what to do, whether it's by hormones or the nerves. It needs to get all the right raw ingredients, and it needs to be able to get rid of all the rubbish. And so if you've got lots of very sick cells in your thyroid gland, your thyroid is not going to work properly. But if you have lots of sick cells throughout the body that for some reason have broken thyroid receptors because their cell membranes aren't working, then you're going to have problems. And it doesn't matter how many drugs you take, you're still going to have problems even when you come off the drugs. But here's the good news. A lot of thyroid problems, a lot of health problems can go away when you start fixing the cell. And we have 6 stages or 6 things we do to help repair people's cells. You remove the sources of any damage, you regenerate the cell membranes, try and restore the energy, reduce inflammation, re-establish methylation, and re-establish communication. So I know it says 5 hours, but I've actually increased it to 6. So if you are looking to actually come off medication, it's really important that you work with 1, your medical doctor. Okay, but 2, work with someone that understands how to find and fix the underlying causes of your problems.
Can I just...
Oh yeah.
Sorry, no, I was going to add something because obviously that's my question.
That's all right, Mercedes.
Oh, it's gone now. Yeah, basically working with someone who understands, definitely. But my problem is that it's the endocrinologists who want to remove all the medication, and they obviously don't understand and don't know. But the other thing I was going to mention is, are you aware of the DIO2 gene for the 40 gene, the diogenase 2, which causes a problem with the conversion of T4 to T3?
See, so there are lots of genes that interact with lots of different problems. But the thing with genes is they can be switched off and switched on again when you start doing all the right things.
Right.
And when you have all the right things happening in your body, then genetics or epigenetics becomes secondary and not so much of an issue.
So a 40 gene that affects conversion, you think that could be made to work again?
Well, it's more of a question of how active that gene is.
Right.
I mean, personally, I mean, the thing with genetics is if you rely on just genetics, but we realize that basically 80% of your health is to do with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that then changes how your genes can be expressed. And genes only account for at most 20% of what we do. And we can only test for about 1% of that. And if that was the only thing that was the problem, okay, then most people may not notice if they've got other sufficient things happening. So it really does depend on exactly how active that gene is. Does it completely disable everything, or is it just something that becomes more active when there's certain switches and certain other things going on? I don't know enough about that gene to give you more of an answer on that. It's far too specific.
Yeah, I believe it's also linked to vitamin status, isn't it? Vitamin and mineral, vitamin D, magnesium, B12 and iron.
But again, all those mean nothing if your cell membranes are not working. If they're broken.
How do you know if your cell membrane's working or not?
Well, there are some tests. One of the tests that I like, which is this one here. I'm going to do this on myself a bit later. It looks at essential fatty acids. Now, your cell membranes are made literally of fat, and those ratios of fat have to be correct, and that basically gives us an idea of how well your cell membrane is working. So I kind of like that test, and that's a good sort of general starter for general health to see, well, if your cell membranes aren't working, let's fix your cell membranes, and then see how you're, basically by putting you through a 5R approach, or a 6R approach as I call it.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, it's a sort of thing that in order to fully understand what's happening with someone, you need to actually go through a full case history, find out exactly what's happening, and then you can put a program together.
Yeah, it's knowing somebody who understands the whole picture, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And
part of that, because your second question in the health lab was basically to do with multiple chemical sensitivity. And again, different environmental toxins can destroy cell membranes, they can change how well receptors work, they can artificially stimulate them, they can block receptors, and they can cause inflammation, they can simulate thyroid hormones, or there's so many different toxins out there, and your body is sensitive to them, usually because there's some damage to your gut and your body's starting to create an autoimmune response to them. And so that all starts in the gut, and often thyroid problems start in the gut as well. You fix the gut, cells start working better, everything starts working better again, in a nutshell. So that's a very broad overview, but yeah, in order for you to sort of get some help, you need to work with someone that understands how the whole of health works together, and work with someone who's going to check your thyroid hormones as well.
So can you recommend anybody like that? Are you able yourself to deal with it?
Who works with the whole body? Well, there's me.
Yes, I was going to say.
There's me, but there are other people, you know, throughout the country. I mean, there's Dr. Bob Rakowski in the States. There's some amazing, all the top specific thyroid specialists I know are all in the States. All in the States. Now, I don't know really anyone over here. I work with the general overall health, and then work by building people's up and then seeing what happens with the rest of the situation. If they think they need specific help in a specific area, then I usually refer out.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
That's all right. That's all right. Now, the next question, which in some ways does tie in a little bit with this, is, what was the question? Yes. Someone wants to know the difference between 8-16 intermittent fasting diet and the FMD 4 times a year. Now, just in case you don't know, intermittent fasting is basically, the best name for it is time-restricted eating, where what you do is you basically decrease the time in the day in which you eat, because very often the most important thing that most people can do to improve their health is not decrease how much they're eating. Okay, I mean, calories, some people do over calorie, but most people it's because they're eating too many times, and this keeps causing insulin spikes, and that's one thing that can disrupt thyroid, for instance. But basically you need to eat less often. So even if you eat the same amount of food that you were eating, like if you were starting eating at 7 and finish at 7 or 8 in the evening, if you eat the same amount of food but you only eat it from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, so only 8 hours of eating, some people will find that they start losing weight, having more energy, everything starts changing for them. And if you compress it even further and only eat within 6 hours, people tend to have even better results. But there is a variation, especially if you have thyroid problems, and in some people anyway. So what time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting does is it helps basically give you a rest from eating, which stops the insulin spikes, which helps more general hormone control, it helps decrease inflammation, it can help with fat burning, it can help with brain clarity, it can help with heart health. It's got many, many health benefits, and I practice time-restricted eating every single day, apart from the odd occasion where I don't. Whereas FMD is what's called the fasting mimicking diet. And the fasting mimicking diet is a diet that you do for 5 days where you really severely restrict your calories. And what it does is you restrict the calories so much that it's almost as if you weren't actually eating anything. Because when you fast for 4 to 5 days, your body actually starts creating more stem cells. It starts regrowing itself, but not before it started eating away all the rubbish cells. So cells that are inflamed, cells that aren't working, cancerous cells. If you stop eating for a number of days, your body will start actually recycling itself, getting rid of all the old stuff that it really doesn't need. And then when you start refeeding yourself again, it starts creating lots of new cells. So it can start creating new thyroid cells, new brain cells, new muscle cells, new heart cells. And that's the biggest difference between just doing intermittent fasting or time restricted, okay, and a fast for 4 or 5 days, whether it's the fasting mimicking diet or whether it's an actual fast where you only drink water. If you've never done a fast for that long, start with the fasting mimicking diet. It's less stress on your system, though I do think proper fasting has more of an effect. And now what this also does is it literally starts rebooting your immune system as well. So there have been people basically saying that after sort of 5 to 7 days of fasting, it starts the pancreas working better again. So people who've been on insulin for years suddenly don't need it. Autoimmune conditions start changing. It really does change. And then Mercedes, yeah, I've seen videos of people advocating 30-day water fast. Yeah, I've got a colleague in the States who did 28. I've got a friend here who's done 10 and 12 days. It depends on how much excess body fat you have as to how long you can actually fast for safely. Although I think that really most people would just benefit from just doing 5 to 7 days and then eating healthily for a few weeks and then doing another 5 to 7 days. Because if you fast for too long, then you're going to probably start breaking down muscle and other things. And personally, I think you're going to have much better long-term health if you just stick to, 4, 5, 6, 7 days most. But I don't think there's been any long-term studies on the effects of 30-day fasting over a lifetime. So that is it for the questions I had. Everyone who watches the replay, I hope that answers that. Are there any more questions or queries? You can either type in the box or unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise,
Chris, can I ask you about the intermittent fasting?
About
the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Basically, you'd mentioned but I'm diabetic, yeah, type 2. So how would that work?
Okay. So, well, the thing is, you're taking medication to lower blood sugar.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you aren't eating anything, you're not going to have any blood sugar to lower.
Hmm.
So you won't need to take medication until you start eating.
Okay.
Basically.
So what? If I'm on metformin, I shouldn't eat it if I'm on the intermittent fasting?
Yeah. So, well, no, basically, so do you check your blood sugar in the morning or in the afternoon?
No.
Okay.
I'm on a borderline, you see, so I'm trying to get out of that. So.
Okay. So basically, what the best thing to do, okay, is to actually start checking your blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Check it in the morning.
Is that with the prick thing? I'd have to get a machine.
Yeah, you want to take it. Ideally, you also want to get one that can measure ketones as well, which are the fats that your body produces when you stopped eating, basically.
What's that machine?
Basically, it's like a blood sugar monitor, but you can also get one that measures ketones as well. And so very often it's just a different chip that you put in, and it's a different strip. But some measure both, but you just have to change a couple of things on them.
Okay.
So ketones. So you want to, if you're borderline, so basically metformin is there to lower the blood sugar once it's already there. So if you're measuring your blood sugar first thing in the morning, seeing where it is, okay, and then just get up in the morning and just drink water. Don't eat.
Yeah.
Okay. And then check your blood sugar a few hours later. Okay. And see if it's coming down.
Okay. Can you have lemon and apple cider vinegar?
Nope.
In the mornings,
as
part of the intermittent, you can't.
Well, ideally, what you should do is you could actually take your blood sugar, have the lemon and the apple cider vinegar, wait 15 minutes, check your blood sugar again. If your blood sugar goes up, then no.
Then stop it, yeah.
If your blood sugar goes down, that's okay. Okay. And then after a couple of hours, take your blood sugar again. And if you're not hungry, don't eat anything. Don't take any metformin. If your blood sugar is not dangerously low, you're fine. And just wait another couple of hours and just see how it feels.
So is the tablet supposed to be taken after food then?
The tablets are, yeah, basically, yeah, with food. So if you're not eating anything, then you don't need to.
Because your doctor says morning and evening, so you can't.
Yeah, that's because they're assuming that you're eating morning and evening.
Normal stuff, yeah. Okay, cool.
Whereas if you can actually monitor your blood sugar, and then you can see what's happening to it naturally, basically, and then when you do decide you want to eat your food.
I don't get hungry. Through the quarantine, I was just giving you an example. I used to wake up at 7:30, go for a walk, do yoga, do meditating, do chanting, and whatever. It would take me to 1 o'clock, and I'd eat something at 2 o'clock, and I was still not hungry.
Okay.
But I try and have lots of warm drinks and things, and I kind of found that really helped me.
Okay. Yeah. So just keep doing that. That's
safe,
good.
Yeah, as a diabetic, it's safe to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And again, if you really want to sort of kickstart things, then as long as you've got nothing else going on, try not eating for 2 days.
Okay.
Just do it gently. Just try 24 hours first.
And just have what, water?
And just drink water, yeah.
What about lemon water, no?
Again, we'll just check to see if it's doing to your blood sugar.
Okay.
Basically. But yeah, if your blood sugar levels are safe and they're good, then yeah, just try it for a couple of days.
What will 2 days do then?
2 days, more than just doing 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours.
Really?
Literally, the longer you fast for, up to about 4 or 5 days, the better the effects. And the more it starts kick-starting and recycling everything. And so just even if you just do one 24-hour fast, maybe a week or something, but if you find it easy, do a 48-hour fast once a week or once every 2 weeks. And if you find that easy, try a 3-day fast.
Yeah, and I struggle with the days, but I could do easily the intermittent. That's really easy.
So just stick with that. But it's not about decreasing calories, it's just about making sure you've got nutrient-dense food as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if you want to learn more about other things, then yeah, give me a ring and we'll set something up.
Will do, yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
I've got my hand up. Just to ask, with the fasting, I've tried. I'm not very good at. I struggle with that because, to be honest, food is a big part of my life, I'm afraid. But when I've tried, I tend to get lightheaded.
Yeah. Fasting tends to be more of a problem with people with thyroid problems than it does with blood sugar problems.
Right.
Because with blood sugar, you can control blood sugar by just not eating or just eating. Whereas when it's the thyroid, you've got a whole load of complicated things going on. So very often that's why with thyroid, it's really good to actually work with someone to actually work out like little bits of doing things, little ways to try and make your cells more sensitive. Sometimes you just have to do like maybe 1 day or just a few hours, and you get used to just decreasing to 10 hours of eating. And if 10 hours of eating is good, then you try and decrease to 9 hours of eating, and then you try and decrease to 8 hours of eating, and then you try 7, and then you try 6, but only maybe a couple of times a week. So, and then you can try completely changing your diet to a ketogenic diet, and then you can try changing it to a vegan diet.
Yeah.
So,
I've sort of tried all that, but it's difficult, as you say, on your own. It's sort of like a bit of a stab in the dark. And I have tried. I do avoid breakfast a lot of the time and just eat at lunchtime and in the evening. I have gone plant-based, except for eggs now because of the B12.
Yeah. And again, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of healthy things that you need in fish, like small fish. I'm a big believer in getting people to eat more small fish. I'm not a believer that everyone should go vegan 100% of the time. I'm a big believer that people should try veganism for a few weeks at a time, but I personally think we should be eating fish as well. But yeah, with thyroid, very often you have to change the diet a number of times, and you can change the diet from one diet to another diet to another diet to another diet, and then all of a sudden it's this flipping of the on and off of the switch and changing the diets that can actually start things changing. So just because the diet doesn't feel good one time doesn't mean that it won't feel good in 3 months after you've had a rest.
Right. And interesting, another thing is brought to mind as well, and the thyroid issues at the same time as going through menopause, that can throw a few things out the window as well, can't it?
Yes, because you're then lacking more hormones. And so there's more stress on the ones that do work.
Right, is that something that you can help with as well? Sort of regulating all those things?
Where's a little picture? Perimenopause. Yes, basically, it's because it's all part of the same process, because all these things, thyroid disorders, blood sugar problems, at the end of the day, they are all caused by the same sorts of things. I'm just trying to find my pictures. No, where is it? I'll be with you in a moment. I'm just seeing if I've actually got this picture here, which describes things very well. Not that
I'm asking
one.
a lot of questions as well. You know, obviously I don't.
Yeah,
want
I'm going to have to go in a moment. I'm going to have to go in a moment. Where is it? Perimenopause symptoms. Ah, no, it's not on here, is it? No, sorry. I thought I had a picture of all the interrelationships, but yeah, no, it's not here. It's not here. Basically, I've got a picture, but it's on my other computer, that basically shows all the underlying causes of something like menopause are very similar to all the underlying causes of a thyroid problem or a blood sugar problem or a back pain problem. It all comes down to the same basic things that most people need to do. They need to eat right, think right, move right, sleep well, recharge, detoxify. Same things for everyone. You get the basics right and the whole system starts working better.
It makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. I will now stop recording. Oh, and by the way, if you do have questions, if you're watching a replay, if you do have questions, feel free to email me, because I've just discovered that gives me a chance to find some slides beforehand, which makes things even better. Okay, bye for now.
Chris?
Yes.
Can I